Hello friends, my name is Bree and welcome to That Iowa Homestead. Today we're talking chickens. I'm going to tell you all about my chickens. I'm going to tell you where we started with our chickens. I'm going to tell you where I'm at now. I'm going to tell you all about my egg production. But first, we're going to go collect some eggs. Got my little basket for picking up all these eggs. Let's get to work. Chickens are funny because they have all these nesting boxes in here, but they all choose to lay in basically the same one. I have about 5 boxes in this whole thing that get used every day. The rest of them, chickens pass right over them. Move on to the next one. We've collected the eggs for the day. I'm gonna sit down here and have a little chit chat with you. This is Hayden's favorite chicken. Her name is Rain. She is a barred rock chicken. She is so friendly. She loves to be held, if you can't tell. Hayden named her because we were in the coop one day and this was the chicken she kept picking up. So I told her she should pick out a name for her chicken. And it happened to be raining outside, so Hayden told me she named her chicken best friend Rain. Now, I'm gonna put her down so she can run around and get some bugs. So I want to tell you about my chicken journey, how I got to have the flock that I do. It actually started out a little bit rough. We had just moved here in December of 2017. And we were so excited to have all this land. Before we moved here, we lived in a little 1-bedroom cabin. We had my daughter in a 1-bedroom cabin. And she was about 1.5 years when we moved in here. And we decided, like, as soon as the weather started getting nice, we're getting chickens. We were totally unprepared to have them. And we bought them. We didn't have a coop. We didn't have feeders. We didn't have waterers. We had a little brooder box given to us, thankfully, so that we could raise the chicks in there. Oh, goodness. How things have changed. So we got these chickens. We actually got, I think, 18 of them the first time around, if I remember correctly. And immediately we started construction on the coop in the back of the garage. And my husband, when he does things, he does them big. So we couldn't just have like a regular coop. No. It had to be an add-on to the garage, which is perfect. It's great. It fits right over that little concrete slab back there. It's perfect. Once we moved the baby chicks out to the coop after it was complete, it became apparent to us that we had 2 roosters. We didn't want any roosters. We had a 1.5-year-old daughter, almost 2-year-old daughter at the time. And I know roosters can tend to be mean, but wouldn't you know it? One of those roosters turned out to be my favorite chicken. All of our chicks, when we bought them, were supposed to be sexed. They were supposed to all be females, but as you know, or you may not know, the sexing process of chicks is not 100% accurate. I think 1 out of every 10 or 1 out of every 12, something like that, on average, turns out to be sexed incorrectly, which we got I think we got 24 chickens. Because I think we were right on that 1 out of 12, if I remember correctly. But yeah, that turned out to be true for us. We had 2 roosters in our flock. One of the roosters was very mean, like from the get-go. He would pick on our hens, beat them up, and just basically, he was ripping feathers out. He was causing them to bleed. So we decided very quickly that one had to go. But I liked my Roo. Like I said, he was my favorite chicken. And we kept him. And he did what he was supposed to do. He defended his chickens. He was never mean towards us, ever. Until one day. My husband and daughter are outside. My husband's cleaning the grill, getting ready to start the grill to have some dinner. And Hayden's running around by the chickens. And my rooster attacked her. We ended up having to take a trip to Iowa City. What happened was he jumped at her face and his claw came down her face. Thankfully, nothing here, nothing in this area actually got open. She doesn't have any scars or anything like that. But when his claw came down her face, it hooked the inside of her mouth and cut right here on the inside of her lip open. We ended up having to go to one of the major hospitals about 45 minutes to an hour away from us because our local hospital told us that they were not comfortable stitching her up because she was too small and had too little tissue in her mouth. So while we went to that big hospital, my husband's cousin came over and took care of my Roo, if you know what I mean. And I know that might make people uncomfortable. He was just doing what he was supposed to do and protecting his chickens. Hayden was running too close to them for him, but we have to think of our daughter. We cannot have a rooster around that is going to attack her. So that happened, and when we came back, Hayden was terrified of the chickens. I mean, absolutely terrified. If they came within 20 feet of her, she was yelling and crying, "Mom, chickens get you! Chicken get you!" And it was so heartbreaking because I loved my chickens. And she loved them too up until that time. But she just was too scared. So I made the decision to give all of my chickens away to my husband's aunt, who has acres and acres and acres. And I think right now she has like 50 some odd chickens. So they are very happy there. They're still alive. And we basically, for a little bit, decided we were done with chickens. The following spring, I looked at my husband and I told him, I want to try again. I want to get baby chicks, and I want Hayden to be involved in the entire process. I want her there when we get the baby chicks. I want her there when I clean the brooder. I want her there when I feed them, and I want her there when I water them. Because she was still very scared of chickens. We would take her over to Jesse's aunt's house. We would take her over to our friend's house who also had chickens, and she was just terrified. And I wanted to help her get over that. And I knew that the only way that I was really going to be effective in getting her over that was basically exposure therapy. Oh, here come my babies. And it worked. It worked a lot. She was very happy. She snuggled the baby chicks all the time. And because she was there from when they were chicks till they were full grown, she was not afraid of them at all. Loved them. And now we have, this spring actually, we bought 20 more baby chicks to add to our flock. We bought 20 last year. No, 20 the year before last. And now we just put 20 more in our coop this spring. Now I did lose a couple to raccoons. I lost 2 to raccoons, which you kind of have to expect that when you have chickens. I mean, they're prey animals. We do take measures to try to prevent that, but it happens. I mean, you have chickens, it happens. But yeah, so currently in my coop, I have 38 chickens. 18 of them are already laying, and my 20 baby chicks within the next probably, I would say, 2 to 3 months are probably going to be laying as well. There they are in the background. I love them. In the coop, we have amberlink chickens, we have golden comets, we have some speckled Sussex, my personal favorite, the Americana. Are you cute? To be quite honest, I'm not exactly sure what these ones are. These were labeled as the tried and true variety at one of the local farm stores around here. Didn't really have a breed name on it, but I love them. These were the first ones that I got back when I was trying to get Hayden used to the chickens again. Pretty cool. And I also have a buff Orpington. Oh, and Rain, but you've already met her. She's a barred rock. But they are in the woods right now. One of their favorite places to hang out on hot days. Alright, I thought I would tell you the rest of my chicken stories while washing up my eggs and packaging them. Now, I sell my eggs, okay? And I know that a lot of people who have chickens will tell you that you're not supposed to wash your eggs, and that's fine. I don't wash my own eggs, but I don't feel right giving somebody an egg that has poop on it. Because let's just be really honest, chickens are dirty. And that happens. It doesn't matter how clean you keep your nesting boxes, you will get eggs with poop on them. It is inevitable when you have chickens. And so the eggs that I sell, I will wash because I don't want to give anybody an egg that has poop on it. I don't want that risk because I can tell them that yes, you need to wash your eggs before you use them, especially like this one. That is poop on this egg. So I wash my eggs before I give them to anybody. My own eggs, I don't wash them until I need to use them, like I said. But anyways, I thought I would take you along and show you my process of how I wash my eggs and package them and get them ready to be sold. So for my egg washing routine, I usually take a damp towel, not wet, but damp, and I have it ready sitting here. I also have my stack of egg cartons sitting right here. My eggs are right in front of me. And I'm gonna pick up an egg out of my little basket, and I'm gonna get all the little bits of bedding stuck to it off of it. And then if I see any flecks of poop sitting there, I'm gonna just give it a little wipe down. Just like that. Just like that. Then I'll move my little egg carton over, stick the egg in the carton. And I'll just continue on down the line, just like that. I don't know if you can see that on there, but that is poop with bedding stuck in it. This is why I wash my eggs. It's gross. Another thing I do while I'm sitting here washing these eggs is I'm constantly looking at the egg as I'm going over it, monitoring for cracks. Because in situations where hens have a favorite nesting box, where all of the hens try to lay their eggs in one specific nesting box, you'll get cracked eggs a lot because they step on them, they move them around. They're not very gentle with these eggs. So I'm just constantly monitoring. Anytime I see even the slightest hint of a crack, I set that egg aside. I'll either feed it to my dogs or I might feed it back to the chickens. The shells anyways. The shells are actually really good for chickens. Adds a little bit extra calcium to their diet and makes them produce nice firm shells in the future. Speaking of adding calcium to their diet, another thing that I do, especially if I start noticing like brittle shells that, you know, crack super easy or break when I'm trying to wash them like this, I'll go buy like a bag of oyster shells from the store. They're usually already crushed up into a powder, and I'll add that in with my chicken scratch and my egg producing feed mix in my big deep freezer. And I'll just mix that in, give them a little bit extra calcium in their diet, help them maintain these hard shells that I like. I haven't had to do that in a while, but I have done it in the past. This is another really good example of why you need to just really be checking these eggs out. I don't even know if you can see that, but see that little shadowy area like right there on that egg? That is a crack. You can just barely see that there, but that is for sure a crack. There. And that's very, very hard to see. So you really got to be monitoring these eggs and checking them out pretty thoroughly while you're handling them. But the next thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was what goes into raising these chickens. What goes in to bringing these delicious eggs in every day. So obviously you need a coop. And you don't have to be all extra like we did. You don't have to build an addition onto your garage to house your chickens. You really don't. They sell little itty bitty chicken coops that are just made for like 2 or 3 chickens. They sell big giant ones. You can build your own. I might be able to put a couple of links to some chicken coops that you can buy just off of like Amazon, really, if you want to, down in the description below. And then you're also going to need something to put the chicken feed in, something to store your chicken feed in. Now you could, depending on your situation, just leave the chicken feed in the bag. That doesn't really work for me because our garage is not insulated or anything like that. We get mice, we do, and they will get into my chicken feed and chew holes in there and eat the chicken feed. So I have to have something to store them in. And you don't have to buy anything fancy. I didn't. You know what my chicken feed is stored in? We found a deep freezer somebody was getting rid of that did not work anymore. So I took that deep freezer, and that is what I store my chicken feed in now. I can fit 5 50-pound bags of chicken feed in that freezer, and it is full most of the time. And then you're going to need something in your coop to put the feed in that your chickens can eat out of. I'm going to see if I can find the one that I have. Mine will hold an entire 50-pound bag of chicken feed in it, no problem. I love it. And then you got to have water for them as well, just like any animal. Food and water, basic necessities. Now, my dogs also need water when they're outside because it gets very hot here in the Iowa sun, believe it or not. And so my solution to that, rather than having 2 separate water areas, is I just have a kiddie pool outside. My chocolate lab Mac likes to take baths. He likes to go swimming. So the kiddie pool option is great because he can go in and lay down in the water and cool off. And the chickens have water that they can drink. The dogs have water that they can drink. It's a win-win. Another thing that you need to have in your coop is a roost. Chickens don't like to sleep on the ground. They want to be up high. It's their way of staying safe from predators. If you were to just let your chickens sleep outside rather than in a coop, they'd probably find a big tall tree branch to sleep in. Some other things you may end up needing for your chickens would be like a heat lamp for over the winter time. And if you raise your chickens from chicks, you'll probably already have a heat lamp on hand because those little babies need that heat. They are very sensitive to temperature when they're little like that. And then over the summertime when the gnats are out, it's not a bad idea to have a fan going in your coop because gnats can actually hurt and even kill chickens, believe it or not. They fly up into their noses and into their ears and can suffocate them. And so it's really just not a bad idea to have a fan on hand that you can stick out in your coop to keep the gnats from flying in the coop so they have some kind of safe space to get away from them. Other than that, I mean, you really don't need a ton, especially not if you're going to free range your chickens. They get a nice, variety in their diet because chickens are foragers. They're always scratching at the ground and looking for stuff. They eat all kinds of bugs. If there's a frog around, you might catch them eating a frog. Yeah, that's pretty much it. A common misconception that people have about chickens is that you need to have a rooster to have eggs, and that is just not true. Now, what is true is that if you have hens that are inconsistently laying, having a rooster might make them a little bit more consistent. But you don't need a rooster to have eggs. Hens will lay eggs regardless. It's just whether or not they're fertilized. And also, you can eat fertilized eggs. You just don't want to let your hens sit on them, because if they sit on them, then that chick will start to develop. And let me tell you, that's not fun to crack into. Alright friends, I'm going to get the rest of these eggs washed and packaged up and ready to be sold. If you have any more chicken questions, feel free to let me know in the comments down below, and I'll try to answer as best I can. If you liked this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up for me. That would help me out tremendously. Thank you for coming with me today. I'll see you soon.